Hello everyone, this is Swarna, marketer from Zoho PageSense. We are hosting today's webinar on Trainer Central. Today on the panel, we have myself hosting the webinar. The live demo is done by a product expert, Ajit, and a Q&A session will have me, Ajit, and Vijay from product management to answer any product related questions you might have. Before we begin, let me introduce the platform we are in. On your left, there's a tab. Under questions, you can post your product related queries or doubts from which we will project each and we will answer them during the Q&A session. Next, you have polls. In this, we will display a couple of easy and simple questions during the session regarding today's webinar topic, and you can interact with them and submit your answers. Next, you can chat with us and other fellow attendees in the chat section. You can let me know if the screen is not visible or if I'm not audible anytime during the session. You can also raise your hand for the same with the help of the hand emoji right below. Ensure to download the handouts before the session ends. It will not be available post the session. You can also raise for mic access during the Q&A session, and the questions will be answered by our product and support team. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared with you post the session. Let's start. Today's webinar is Decode User Intent and Behavior Patterns with Zoho PageSense Session Recording. This is today's agenda. We'll be discussing about session recording in depth. We'll be also analyzing what, why, where, and how session recording is used. Post that, we'll have a live product walkthrough by Ajit, and then we'll have a live Q&A session. Before we begin, let's begin with an interesting story. We all use social media big time to shop and are influenced by the endless offers floating around. But what happens when an offer or discount being promoted by the brand is live on their site? But is it working only for you? You feel unlucky and devastated, right? I faced a similar situation recently while trying to make an online purchase. A brand I had been eyeing for quite a while had some amazing offers, and I was keen to order from them. I eagerly added to cart my selected items and went on to the checkout page. But I noticed that no matter what I tried, it kept saying page not found. Having no clue whatsoever, I reached out to the brand on Instagram and sent them a screenshot saying, I'm unable to proceed to payment as the checkout page isn't loading and appears to be broken. Thus, they began looking into the issue. Later, they then explained that despite their offer having great reach, they were clueless as to why there were no sales happening. Later, they found that the issue was a broken CTA. The checkout button was not working, but they were clueless as it appeared to work fine when they had launched it at the beginning. They rectified it, thanked me, and I went ahead with my purchase. All was well. So, in the meanwhile, to give you a real-time example of how PageSense session recording works, we'll be sharing a sample site link with you in the chat box now. Feel free to browse around, interact with the site, and fill in details. We will show you how it looks in the end. So, going back to the use case I had shared above, this is where session recording can come to your help. Had they implemented and used session recording, they could have easily viewed the recording and found the issue before it was reported. The broken CTA link could have been fixed in time. Moving on, what is session recording? Imagine you want to see your visitors interact with your website and if they face any obstacles or issues while navigating. Session recording can exactly help solve this by making your tasks simpler. You recreate a real-time recording of your website visitor sessions, allowing you to observe them later and gain insights into their behavior patterns. If you've ever wanted to watch visitors use your website to see how they browse it, if they run into any issues, what distracts them from making a purchase, or why they leave it. Session recording is the simple way to know your customer's entire journey on your website. So, how does it work? When a visitor lands into your page and starts browsing, you capture their navigation journey. You can see their mouse movement, view what pages were browsed, what elements were interacted with, what prevents people from buying and abandon the cart, or why they leave the page or site altogether. This helps you to analyze how your users are interacting with your site and what best can be done to optimize, boost engagement, retain your visitors for a prolonged period. Also, please note, you don't have to scroll through a gazillion recordings with Zoho PageSense Session Recording. We have an amazing feature update for you to view important recordings easily. Stay tuned for the reveal in the end. So, why do you need session recording? Session recording is the most easiest yet essential way to understand your customer or visitor journey patterns. Why? You may ask. Because you get to see your visitors and customers browsing and navigating actions from their own point of view. You hands on experience what users of your website go through by inspecting every movement and interaction. You get to see, understand, and analyze how they view your site, what they enjoy, and what bothers them in the process. You might still wonder, why would you need session recording when you've already integrated your website with an analytics tool that tracks all the required metrics? Okay, so for example, if your landing page's bounce rate is high, you either redesign it, change the content, or end up making an assumption based conclusion. But what would you do if that change still didn't work or make any difference? How would you know whether the high bounce rate was due to that particular reason? Quantitative tools won't have explanations for all the metrics you try, but this is when session recording steps in and clears the doubts. User recordings help you decode by replaying your customer's web page journey. This will help you understand the exact elements that drive customers away from your landing page. Is it the section that talks about a particular product? Is it the long sign up form or a misleading CTA button? You can now pinpoint, rework, and refine your website elements without having to play the guess game anymore. Next, when and where do you need session recording? Let's say your website is performing exceptionally well, with all your metrics indicating impressive numbers. But there's a significant drop off, and despite thorough analysis, you cannot pinpoint the root cause or understand what's driving this behavior. You have a list of new elements like a form, CTA to your new blog section, a bot to help and resolve basic queries. By viewing the recordings, you can understand and learn if they browse your site and find your blog page via the CTA, or if it's positioned in the wrong place and thus getting ignored. You can also view and analyze if they are adapting to the bot and raising concerns as conceptualized. Or you can also check if your form length is too long, why they don't submit the form, or if they ignore certain form fields due to privacy concerns. Additionally, session recordings will be of a major help to product teams to analyze the behavior patterns and make necessary changes to the UI and UX of the product. And similarly, recordings aid support teams to get visual context by viewing the problem, thus leading to faster analyzing and providing solutions. So, now, what can you do with page and session recording? Let's say you want to target a specific group of people from Texas and Canada and observe how they interact with your site. What do they look for the most and what are the difficulties they face? You can easily target a specific visitor group with a choose your audience filter and monitor these distinct groups to learn their usage pattern from specific regions, understand what works best for them and what doesn't. You can also choose from any of a preset audience segments or customize one of your own based on your own requirements. Then, you only want to record people who go through the checkout page on your e commerce site. Instead of tracking your entire site, you can set up recordings to activate only when someone visits your checkout page. You can choose to record activities of visitors on a specific target page or a group of pages using the advanced URL targeting option. You can select appropriate URL patterns to precisely match the page URLs which you want to record. Moreover, URL targeting also lets you exclude a set of web pages on your site so that you don't want to track and view session behavior for. Let's say now you want to view which set of audience groups perform actions on your site, be it spending 10 seconds on your landing page or clicking on the blog CTA or even scrolling till the end of your web page. You can implement this with ease by setting up goals in session recording and view those who have achieved the same. And finally, what does Zoho PageSense Session Recording offer? Filter recording using tags. So now finally, you have a ton of recordings and you're not able to find one when most needed. Say to share with the development team to look for reported bugs or product team to check on those who achieved your goals. Sifting through them could be a time consuming and tedious task. When you access the recording tab, you'll encounter thousands of recordings, which can be overwhelming to review and analyze individually. In such situations, Tagging becomes invaluable as it allows you to add filters to highlight and access specific recordings showcasing actions like broken CTA clicks, failed signups, or regions with the best visitor engagement. This significantly reduces the time required to go through all the entries. Tags act as filters, enabling you to extract precise user behaviors from the pool of recordings and revisit them later for in depth analysis. Moreover, if you've tagged recordings but need to focus on a particular period, you can easily filter your recordings by date range using our audience filters. And the next, remember I told you that we have a very amazing feature that's up to be revealed. So, welcome. As and when you replay visitor recordings, you can flag specific recordings to pinpoint sessions or behaviors that indicate website or user experience issues, such as errors or navigation difficulties or incomplete actions like form submissions or purchases. You can later run these flagged recordings with your team for detailed analysis by designers and developers. User journey mapping. PageSense is one of the very few tools in the market that offers unique visitor tracking. During a visitor session on your website, the cookie length is set to 2 hours and marks them as a unique visitor for a period of 1 year. If the visitor engages with your website multiple times within this 2 hour period, all the user interactions are mapped, consolidated, and displayed as a single recording under one username. This applies as long as they navigate through various web pages and interact with different elements, but it does not extend beyond the session or after they exit the website. Protect visitor privacy. So, now by default, your visitors' sensitive information will automatically be anonymized on your recording screen in PageSense. Instead, it will have a combination of an adjective and an animal name. For example, let's say magnificent giraffe. You can also mask additional or specific elements or interactions to protect your visitors' privacy. But if your visitors' names and email IDs are masks, how do you know who had a problem in the checkout page custom identity API? If you want to identify a specific user or event from the list of recordings in your report page, you can add our custom identity API inside the PageSense tracking snippet code on your website. This helps identify visitors under session recording. Reports. We have an insightful report section which will be explained in depth by Ajit during the demo session. I hope the session was insightful. With that, we're done with what is session recording, how is it used, where can it be used, and why is it used. PageSense is the only product that offers 10 plus CRO tools all under one platform. It's the ultimate CRO and personalization platform that can improve your website performance by analyzing user behavior, identify potential barriers to conversion, and run A/B tests, create personalized experience for users, and also increase website engagement. So now we'll have the product walkthrough. Handing over the controls to you, Ajit.
Sure, Sarna. Thank you. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the webinar today. So today's session, I'm going to present you the session recording feature from Zoho PageSense application. So I'm just going to start sharing my screen. I hope my screen is visible to all of you. So if so, just leave a thumbs up so that I can just continue with it. All right. So thank you so much for the confirmation. So let me just quickly get into the application and show you what is Zoho PageSense session recording's potential and how is it going to benefit you to understand your visitors' journey from their point of view. To be more precise, to you get onto the visitors' or customers' shoes and understand what they all do on your website by navigating to multiple pages. So that being said, this is the Zoho PageSense application through which you'll be able to get 10 plus CRO tools under one roof. And using this particular application, you will be able to ensure that your entire conversion rate optimization is taken care of. So when I say that, right from analyzing your website user behavior and web page performances, plus getting insights from them, and how do we create hypotheses out of it, and how do we A/B test them and improve your website conversions down the line. So that's pretty much on what we do with PageSense. Now, getting into today's specific topic, which is session recording. So under the Analyze module of Zoho PageSense, we get a feature which is session recording along with heat map and form analytics. So sticking to this agenda today, so I'm going to talk about what is session recording and how is it going to be beneficial for you to understand your customer or visitor behavior. So let me just quickly kickstart with a setup on how do we configure a session recording for your website. So now let me just create one and show you how it goes. So I'm just creating a particular session recording. And for this, I'd like to target a specific group of audience. So that could be from, let's say, a group of pages, or let's say it could be a group of audience that I'd like to target. No matter what, I'll be able to just pick the audience that I wanted to target and just capture the behavior on the website. So how do I do that? It's very simple. All we need is just a website, which is your website that you use for your business. And I just copy the URL. And depending on the pages that I'd like to track, let's say if I want to track the entire domain, I can enter the domain URL here, and I'll be able to track all the web pages under the domain. If not, let's say I want to stick to a particular page, which is homepage of this website. On that note, I'm just going to enter this URL with a simple URL match, by which I'll be able to target only the page which I entered over here. And with the exact match, I'll be able to pick up a query parameter along with the URL. Let's say you want to target a specific group of audience coming from a specific ad campaigns or any other social campaigns that you run. So along with query params, I'll be able to include them inside this particular exact URL match. Followed to that, we also support pattern matches, regular expression matches, URL contains, starts with, ends with, and of course, you can club multiple URLs together and use it as a particular page group in the drop-down sections depending on your need. Now, considering the use case here, I'm going to stick to this home page itself. And also we have options to go ahead and pick up multiple other URLs and proceed with your target pages that you wanted to set up. And if you'd like to exclude a few pages, you can also go ahead and enter the URLs that you'd like to exclude from tracking within the Zoho PageSense application. And these are all specific to session recording. And that's an advantage for you to target the niche audience that you'd like to pick up. Now, the next part is about setting up the number of recordings that you'd like to track. So with PageSense, you get an option to record up to 2,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 recordings, considering the traffic size that you get onto your website or a target page that you have allotted. Let's assume this particular page has a traffic of 50,000 visitors per month. So I'd like to analyze how the visitors actually engage, or how they navigate through multiple pages, and what are all engagements they perform throughout their entire journey. So for that, I believe a 2,000 to 5,000 samples would make sense for me to get better insights from them. So I'm going to pick up 5,000 sample recordings for that, to just understand the behavior and derive insights out of them. So moving to the next step, which is audience. Now, we discussed about how do we set up a target page and run a session recording to them alone. Now, adding to that, we also get an option to pick up a specific group of audience that you'd like to target. Number one that we see here is all visitors, which means globally, any visitor viewing a particular web page will be tracked using the session recording feature of Zoho PageSense. That's going to be all visitors that gets tracked here, where that becomes your target audience as well. Whereas we also have a predefined segments where you can pick up based on different source of traffic, as you see. That includes direct, paid campaigns, organic search, social, and referral. We also include device-specific segmentations, and also visitor type specific segmentations. These are all predefined, as I mentioned. For example, if you're going to pick up a paid campaign traffic, any AdWords or paid campaigns that you run will be automatically synchronized to this, and we'll be able to segment altogether using this particular preset segment option. Let's assume that you have a separate custom audience to deal with, right? So apart from the predefined ones or all visitors, you have your own set of audience to target. In that case, we provide you with an option. As Swarna mentioned over the slides, we'll be able to target a specific group of audience. Let's say a visitor coming from Canada or Texas, and then if they are a new visitor and using a specific browser, I can just do that with this particular feature with a powerful segmentation. So location equals, let me put up saying Texas. And then I'm going to add one more condition with AND logic. That means source is from direct visitors, and the visitor type is going to be new. So with this logic, what I'm trying to do is I'm going to target the direct visitors coming from Texas location, and specifically if they're a new visitor, then those who users or visitors session to be recorded inside the Zoho PageSense application. So that's what this condition is meant to be. If I change this to OR, this means either of these conditions must be true so that we'll be able to start recording the sessions. So that's going to be the purpose of the segmentation that we see over here. And you can name them and add a description for your better understanding. So in this case, I'm going to say location and visitor type based segment. And for my understanding, I'm going to say Texas direct new. So just adding my own sort of understanding to revisit and check how things are. So when I click save audience, this will be automatically saved over here and picked up as well. And then you can go for the next step, which is privacy. So here comes the important part in terms of understanding the visitor's privacy with session recording. And before we talk about session recording, with Zoho PageSense application, all the visitors who are being tracked inside the application will be completely anonymous, which means they are all just numbers. None of the visitors' personally identifiable information, let that be their name, email address, or a phone number, will not be tracked by Zoho PageSense at all. So considering the same aspect, we respect the privacy of every individual visitor coming to the website. So considering that, whenever we go ahead and record a particular session of a visitor on the website, this application, Zoho PageSense, will restrict the any PII information, which is personally identifiable information, masked during the session recording itself. So I'm going to show you how that's done in detail with respect to the masking aspect of it. So now I'm just going to load the page. This is our target page that we have entered in the first step, if you remember. And now the entire website gets loaded inside this selector window. So for instance, let's say I have a particular form in the footer over here. So this is a demo site where you can see a form in the footer, right? So I'll be just going ahead and picking up this particular form field, and then I'm going to mask it. So that way I'll be able to mask this entire field. So any input that is shared by a visitor will not be displayed in the recordings that we are going to generate. And having said that, we also have advanced option. With this, you will be able to mask all the input elements consisting this tag, which is input, button, select, label, and text area. All of these input elements will be completely masked. And adding to that, we also have option to hide your URL query parameters. This option is necessary because using the query params, we'll be easily able to understand the source of the particular visitor coming to the website, whether it's from social media, if it's specific to Facebook, Instagram, or if they're coming from a paid campaigns, anything for that matter, we'll be able to easily understand the source of the traffic using the URL query parameters. So that way, to restrict and respect the privacy of the visitor, we keep that as a hidden factor so that that's not visible inside the recording. So these are all few privacy concerned options that we have enabled with the session recording feature that lets visitors' privacy is intact and none of the information, which is specifically PII information, is not disclosed to external world. So that's something which we are concerned about, and a click of a button, the experiment will be launched. So that way you'll be able to easily configure the session recording all by yourself and start gathering the recordings from here. Now I'm going to open up some of the test cases so that I can show you how it actually works. So once you collate the recordings inside the session recording feature, this is how the recordings will be listed. So now to talk about the table over here, we have visitors, duration of this particular session, goals they have achieved, unique pages they have visited, from which device they're coming from, what is the operating system, which browser, which location or the country, and what time and date they have created this particular session. Now talking about the visitor, you might see few random names and few with the name tag over here. So this is because by default, Zoho PageSense Session Recording will track all the visitors with the cookie ID. So considering that, just for identification, we have random names, computer generated names listed over here. But at the same time, as Swarna mentioned over the previous session, we'll be able to identify the visitors on their name, email address, or a contact number, depending on the variable we choose, with the help of Identity API. So once the Identity API is added to your website, we'll be able to replace the cookie ID with the corresponding email address, the name, or a contact number, which will be more relevant for you to figure out which user's session is that, and how did they go through, or what are all the actions or engagements they have performed. So that level of personalized analysis can be performed on top of the recordings that you see. And now getting into a specific recording so that we can understand what sort of actions are being seen. So this is a complete action of the particular user. And as you see, I've masked that particular input information over here, if you could remember. All right. So that is completely masked inside the session recording, which means when I open up this recording for analysis, the user, whatever they enter the information over here, will not be visible to me at all. So that level of security is maintained. And adding to that, you can also see what sort of actions they perform towards the right side of your application with Events tab. So you have the trophy icon, which means they have achieved a particular goal. Now, talking about the goal option over here, I'd like to circle back to the application and show you where the goals are. So now every individual business will have definite use cases and definite goals to achieve. So for e-commerce, let's say transaction is a particular business end goal. For a SaaS industry like us, a subscription is actually a business end goal. For real estate, it's going to be a lead generation. So for every individual industry, the business end goal is going to vary. So considering your business use case, you can also define your goal, or respective to a particular page, you can also define a goal that you wanted to track. So you can create your goal under the track module goals feature. And depending on the goals that you configure, those goals action will be monitored inside the session recording. So with this one, it's clearly visible that at a specific timestamp, we see this goal has been achieved. And at the 18th second, we see the other goal also achieved. So as we scroll down a bit, we see where are all the clicks that has happened and where are the engagements that has happened over this entire session. And at the 13.53, which is 13th minute 53rd second, we see there is a goal that has happened. And as we see here, the recording that we are seeing right now is a complete walkthrough of a particular user who's proceeding with choosing a product and then adding them to a cart and then making the transaction over here. So this is also one level of masking where you will be able to mask all the input information. This happens by default. So if you don't mask the elements by picking up an element ID, this will be automatically masked with the help of stars, which means your information will be recorded, but inside the PageSense, it's just going to be stars where none of your information will be disclosed to the audience. So that is how it's going to be when it comes to masking process. You can also see the list of pages that a visitor has navigated from. So this is page 1. This is where the visitor started their journey, and then they navigated to category page, from there to cart to checkout, and then the thank you page, and then got back to the home page again. So this is a cyclic process that happened within this particular user, and that's what we are seeing it as a session recording inside the application. And also we have something called tags. So tag here, as per the name, it's pretty evident for you to figure out, like, this is to identify a particular a recording out of hundreds and thousands of recordings that you're going to generate. So considering that in mind, to pick up few handful of samples to see how they perform, how they behave, or what sort of inferences that we would get, this tag is going to be helpful. So in this case, I'm going to say a customer journey. All right. So I'm going to just tag this up right away, and the tag is created. So let's say this becomes a little tedious for you to add every now and then whenever viewing a recording. Instead, what you can do is we also have an option called auto tag. The one that we just did is a manual tag. You can also go for auto tag. That means you need to add a particular code snippet to your website, and whenever an action happens on the website, the tag will be automatically appended to that particular session itself. And that will be helpful for you to circle back and then filter those specific tags and see what the action has happened to those set of targeted tags. So I'm going to show you in the report part of it in terms of how do we handle the tags and segment recordings based on the tags in the next few minutes. And then we have the session details, starting with the name, the date and time, along with the location and the device, operating system, browser, the screen resolution they are into, and what is the source of this particular visitor that we see. So all of these are pretty much necessary for us to understand the visitor behavior, and that's what is displayed here as well. And with the table that we see here, we also have a flagging option, like Swarna mentioned over the previous few slides. We have an option to flag a recording so that you can view it as a collective recording whenever you wanted to filter it down. So now getting into the segment audience option. So to the right top, you have a particular option called segment audience. Under that, we have smart and advanced. Smart, as per the name, it's all predefined, where you can just pick up a particular audience and see how the engagements and journey has been so far. So this is based on visitor type, source, country, device type, goal. The goals that we just saw inside the track module, those goals will be listed down here. You can also see how many of them are out of these recordings, how many have achieved a particular goal. And then we have number of unique pages. So how many of the visitors have viewed at least let's say greater than 2 unique pages. If I apply this, we have 436 recording over here. If I apply this, I'll be able to see the recording specifically for the criteria that I have applied. Also, we have a page visited where you can enter a specific URL, the landing page, exit page, time spent, which browser they are from, what is the operating system, which day of the week and hour of the day. Yes, you have a privilege to get to a level where you can pick up the audience or the visitors based on the day of the week and hour of the day to drill down to a particular time frame and see how the engagements are. This is widely used when you run a specific banner or a promotional campaign on your website for a certain duration of a time, and you can see at what point in time how the engagements are so far, and depending on that you can take inferences from them. And the last part is tag and identity. So the tag that we have just added will be displayed here along with the auto tags, and identity is nothing but the identity API, which will let us replace the cookie ID and the random generated names with appropriate user name or a contact number or a email address. So that can be added over here for you to quickly pick up those recordings alone. So now getting into the advanced here, all of those options that we just saw we'll be able to create on a custom basis. So let's say, for example, based on a location, I'm going to say India for now. And in India, I would like to pick up the device type is desktop. And the next condition is going to be, let's say, the goal. All right. So the goal equals homepage. Right. If I click apply, I'll be able to view the recordings of those conditions alone. So instead of me browsing through those hundreds of recordings, I'll be able to get to the point that I wanted to understand. So I can just pick these two, or I can flag them and use it later. I can just view these two recordings and see how the visitors' engagement are so far. So that gives me a primary inference that I wanted to learn. And then we also have a date slicer where you'll be able to just pick up a time frame and see, choose a specific set of recordings and understand how is it going. And also we have option to share this recording with a password protected link where you can share it with your external users of PageSense with a password. And you can also set up an expiry date. Once the expiry date is reached, the link becomes inactive for them. So that way we maintain the security aspects of it. That sums up what is a session recording for you. Before we close this, I'd like to mention we have integration with Mixpanel and Zoho Sales IQ, which is internal product. And also we have integration with Zoho CRM. So the necessity of this is to ensure the session recording is passed down to these applications. So basically the Intercom and Sales IQ are a support chatbot systems, whereas CRM, as you all know, it's a sales software, which is going to be helpful for handling your sales system. So when we send out these session recording to CRM and Sales IQ Intercom for that matter, we will be enabling the sales executives along with support agents in terms of letting them know in beforehand about the user's behavior and journey they have taken up. So they'll be well aware in terms of what sort of visitor they are going to engage with. And they'll also be well equipped in terms of what sort of approach should be taken to handle this particular customer, or to reach out this particular prospect and get them converted as a customer. So it sort of helps the sales team to understand their interest and support team to understand what sort of problem they are going through. And as Swarna mentioned, this also helps us to enhance the product and website whenever you face any hassles. Without being reactive, this will enable us to be more proactive in terms of resolving the problems on the website. So that's pretty much sums up in terms of how PageSense session recording is going to be helpful for you to proceed with the next steps. And we also have one quick minute. This is the page where Vijay has shared in the particular, the beginning of the session to engage with. So we'll be able to see the recordings that has been generated. Just a quick second over here. Yes, so you see here, as and when the recording is going on, a lot of visitors would have engaged, and we see a little bit of engagements going on this particular session. So we have a 19-minute session where you will be able to see the visitor going on to multiple pages and so on. So I see this one is idle, but yeah, that's how it's going to be when you record a particular session. Out of 100, let's say 20 or 30 is going to be more meaningful. And with that 20 to 30, you can pick up handful and analyze how things are going out and what are the inferences that you're going to get out of from them. That will be more helpful for you to figure out where do you stand and what needs to be optimized, and where we can find opportunities to enhance your visitor experience. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about with respect to session recording, and I'm glad that I was able to present this to you all. And handing this over to you, Swarna, for further presentation.
Thank you, Ajay. That was a very insightful demo. Moving back, we've seen what is session recording. We've seen in depth and analyzed how it helps us and how it's going to be useful. Let's see, why is Zoho PageSense the right fit? Now, there are many CRO products out in the world, but not all can be the right fit. Zoho PageSense checks all the important boxes. From being affordable, being privacy oriented, GDPR compliant, we capture real time data, we reduce cost per acquisition, we have a very frictionless page load time, we have real time behavioral targeting, and powerful segmentation. We also optimize the user experience, improve conversion rates, and make data informed decisions. And you also can stay informed. Apart from this, I think Zoho PageSense is going to help end all your website issues. Most of all your issues are going to be solved once you enter Zoho PageSense. With that, I think this is the end of the webinar, and we have the Q&A session right now. You can start asking your questions. You can also raise your hands, and we'll give you mic access, and our team will assist you with the answers. Okay, so Amrit Pradhan, I see an all recordings option which I have enabled. So what's the max limit of storing these recordings for which it gets flushed?
Okay, so to answer this question, I believe Vijay has already dropped a message to you, but however, let me rephrase this. So with respect to the number of recordings option, which was mentioned before, which was available before in the application, now it has been removed, and we have enabled it to 10,000 recordings as a maximum cap. And with this, you will be able to create n number of experiments and store more number of recordings with individual experiments. But within one experiment, you cannot have multiple or n number of recordings done. So I think that answers your question with respect to the one that you just raised. Now, thank you for that. Next, moving on to Prashant Praveen's question. So I see you have mentioned, are these recordings available in real time inside PageSense, and how frequently it syncs with Sales IQ and CRM? Yes, of course, it's going to be real time when it gets inside the PageSense. As soon as the session happens and ends, we'll be able to see that particular recording inside the Zoho PageSense application, and gets continuously updated as well as and when that session continues to go so. And with respect to synchronization with Sales IQ and CRM, yes, that also is going to be seamless in terms of pushing it to corresponding applications, because that's in where we'll be able to engage with our prospects, our customers, to address their queries instantaneously without any hassle. So I think Vijay has answered to that question as well. So do you have any other follow-up questions to the one that you just asked? Feel free to drop it down so that we can answer those questions as well. Also, let me know. I'll be able to share a mic access with you all to, voice out your questions too. Prashant Praveen has asked one more question. So the question goes like this: is it possible to see PageSense traffic that hits goals or events also available as segments in CRM? Well, so that's a good question. Let me just pass this to the product team, Vijay, and circle back on this one moment here. Okay, so with this one, yes, the goals and events will be passed along with the session recording. So when you click a session recording inside the Zoho CRM, you'll be able to see the goals they have achieved and the pages that they have navigated so far. And with respect to the segments, that needs to be checked offline. So we will ensure that this question is checked with the team, and we'll reach out to you with the appropriate answer over email, Prashant. Prashant, follow up to your question here. We checked, and we'd like to enable mic if you are comfortable, so that we can have a discussion on this question. If yes, you can request for mic access. All right, Prashant, I guess we have enabled mic access to you. You can talk now. Hi, Prashant. So the question that we have here is about, when you say the goals that is also available as a segment in CRM, do you mean to say
Hi.
segmenting as a filter that is available in Zoho CRM?
Yes, so we have goal in PageSense, and then
Okay.
as soon as we integrate, the native integration which is available in CRM with PageSense, we also have goal as a tab with CRM, right? But somehow it's always stay blank. There is no syncing over there. I don't know what the same thing is the goal which is available as a tab in CRM, the same which is a goal in PageSense, or is something else. And it would be really helpful and useful to know which particular contact in CRM or lead in
Yeah, it is
CRM
Prashant. And
hits
over to you, Vijay.
hit the
Hi,
goals or
Prashant.
the
This is
events which
Vijay
were
from the
defined
product
in
team.
PageSense.
Yeah, I understand
So
that.
yeah, that's the
So
question
you'd like
actually.
to
If
have the
that makes it
goals to
clear.
be pushed into the CRM under the leads module. So right now the integration is between the leads module of CRM. So the goals or the session recordings that has been created for that particular lead will be pushed there, and it should be available under the goals module that you're referring here. So if it is not showing up there for you, and if it is still empty, we can have this checked. I'd suggest you to drop an email to our support team. We can have this checked and we can troubleshoot this for you. And I'd like to add something here. So this option will work only if you have added identifier API in PageSense for your session recordings, because only with that we'll be able to identify which lead it is, and we can push the relevant record into CRM.
Got it, I guess. So you're saying that we would only be able to relate
Exactly
contact in
correct.
CRM or lead
So
in
once you
CRM
have
to
this identifier
these
API added
events or
to your
goals or
website,
session
we'll
recordings
be able to
only when
find
we have
out which
this
lead it
this
is,
API
and we
enabled,
can
right?
push that relevant information. And I'd like to add something here. It is not available for the contacts module as of now. We'll be working on that. As of now, it is only available for the leads module within CRM. Yeah, exactly. You're right. We can help you with the steps.
And this API
So
doesn't
I'd
come with the
suggest you to send
PageSense
an
tracking
email
code
to us, or we'll
out of the
be
box, right?
sending you the.
It's something
We'll be reaching out to you
more than
with the
that.
relevant details. So one of our support team members will get in touch with you, help you implement this, and we can take it forward from there.
And also about the other question which I had, I've realized, and I'm sure that the the session recordings are not real time. When I ask that, it means that if someone is
Okay.
scrolling the page right now, is it being populated on the PageSense session recording, or to CRM or to Sales IQ in the real time or not? We feel- we ran few tests just to see, was the time gap between the actual visit
Okay.
and the recording
I got
when
your
it's
question,
available.
Prashant. So with
And
respect to
we
real
were
time,
not
that
able to
I
calculate the
understood
exact time,
was,
but there's a
whenever a
lag.
session is
It would be
happening, or
really
let's say the
helpful to
visitor performs
know
certain
what's the
actions on
lag
the
there.
website, the
Like,
session will be recorded for sure.
yeah.
And that will be displayed inside the PageSense application with a limited, or let's say negligible amount of delay, like few seconds or minutes that would take to reflect on the account. And let's say the same visitor is performing further actions on the website, that will still be added to the same session recording itself. So that is how the delay is going to be, because it has to render the information and pass it on to Zoho PageSense application to view it as a recording for you to analyze. So once that is available inside the PageSense, then we'll be able to push it to Sales IQ or Zoho CRM for further analysis on those platforms. So that way, when you ask for real time in your understanding, that's not real time. It will take little time to get the information and pass it on to PageSense and have the further proceedings with it. So I hope that answers your question here. So I see a thumbs up. Thank you, Prashant, for that. I'm gonna put this to Swarna again so that we can wrap the session. Over to you, Swarna.
Thank you, Ajit. Thank you, Vijay. I think with that, we've come to the end of the session. Thank you, guys. I hope you enjoyed and learned a lot from the session as much as we enjoyed preparing for it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Camila. Yep. Thank you, Angelo. Thank you, Prashant.